the NASSCOM Game Developers Conference. Now we are here with Arnab Basu, who is the executive producer of Gardens of Time at Disney Interactive. Arnab, thanks so much. It's good to be talking to you at the conference here. And there's a lot that's going on, and people are talking about mobile and new platforms, and what's the right business model, whether it's free to play or it's the other one. But your experience, and now that you're here and you're looking at India and the entire development scene here, what's the take?
So thanks, it's great to be here as well. So I think there's a lot going on in the community of development here in India. What we're seeing in terms of the smartphone penetration and the old sort of world of consoles coming in is that you have an environment where developers can kind of pick and choose where they want to experiment with in terms of the medium of game development. And I think there's some platforms that are faster moving compared to others. But from a development perspective, I think, I'd like to think of it as a jungle gym. You want to make sure that you're learning the art of creating content irrespective of the platform, irrespective of the consumer. I think that, to me, gives a certain kind of depth in game development that folks here will sort of use to push that medium to a place where it hasn't even been, whether it's for the Indian context or for the global market.
Okay, but given the multiplicity of platforms now, is it really possible to do an all-in-one kind of a game? Is that even possible? What kind of new challenges and opportunities does it throw up for a developer?
There's a few products out there that are trying to go down the sort of trans-platform route, if you may. I think it's a tougher proposition because you have to make sure you have a certain bench depth in each of those verticals that you're trying to bring together. I think for someone starting out, it's probably better to go with the platform you think you have the most understanding of and then start there. If you build that product really well and there's enough excitement, I'm sure the ecosystem around you will automatically sort of help in making sure that you take that experience and put it out on some of the other platforms.
So what platform motivates you the most, or what are you more optimistic
So
on?
right now, I think, and this is not just me, I think it's the community across the planet, in the sort of big three of the iOS, the Android and the Facebook ecosystem, developers suddenly have the luxury of reaching out to millions of users within an instant. And I think the power, it's almost like what the model used to be with television a few years ago, where you were suddenly able to broadcast just a lot of content that people could meaningfully engage in and actually in this case interact with. So I think that to me is the biggest draw, which is you can't just in the past you would come up with a product that maybe just 30 people played or 300 people played. I think in this case the stakes are much higher, and you need to make sure that when you deliver something it's world class enough and stands the test of time.
Do you actually see mobile perhaps at some level sort of overtaking console gaming, the pure hardcore gaming arena, so to speak?
So overtaking
just in terms of a business opportunity, in terms of interest, and in terms of the effort that's going in.
So there's challenges to develop on both. I think the benefit that mobile has is that it's more of a general purpose device. So you can hop onto a train and play a game for a few minutes and come back home and then spend more sort of engaged time with a game. I think that's the one advantage that platform has over the traditional console platform, which typically requires maybe a big projector or 3 hours of downtime on a Friday evening to really sit back and enjoy. In my mind, an avid gamer is probably looking at all of these platforms to consume content. So there might be certain days of the week they prefer to do one versus the other. And it's almost like the analogy of how strongly are you leaning in and engaged versus how laid back and hands off would you want to be. That's the way, from a player perspective, I would look at the different options that are out there.
Okay, fair enough. In terms of developing games, how do you go about sort of identifying the audience, or what goes into real game development when you're trying to come up with, let's say, the quote-unquote winning formula?
So in the environment where you have all the instrumentation to react very quickly to what players are doing and what they're liking or not liking, you end up sort of really changing the way you ask questions about your product, right? So you never really take anything for granted. You want to focus more on the whys as opposed to the hows and whats. And then once you identify interesting patterns, you start to sort of, say, hey, like, let me try this out and see what the population thinks. If it sticks, you build on it, and it's sort of this continuous exercise of trying to make it better and understand along the way what it is that you did right or you did wrong or what you could do better. I think that's something that is very, very powerful in terms of understanding why you're never really going to be an expert, because at the end of the day you can make various kinds of assumptions, but it's the players that will determine whether they actually cared about it or not.
Mm-hmm. What about India as a market per se, as a gaming market, and how you see it from the Disney perspective being there?
So I think Disney has a strong presence in India in various forms of entertainment. I think television, movies, games. In terms of the gaming market specifically, I think over time people will become more and more particular about what kinds of experiences they're looking for. The App Store or the Google Play Store does a great job at helping you figure that out. And so I think content creators will have to come up with apps or games that will meet the needs of this kind of an audience. So what am I trying to say? I guess so for the Indian market specifically, whether it's going to be something mythological and local versus something that's just globally successful, given that a lot of India's mobile urban middle class is English speaking, I actually don't know the answer to that. I'd like to see how that plays out.
Okay, but trends obviously becoming visible on the stores and the buying patterns for sure. Which now brings me to the other model, which is the free-to-play model. Now, where is this whole movement going, and where does it leave the developer?
So I think it leaves the developer in a great place. The free-to-play world is a world where you're giving the player the option to choose how much they're willing to spend on your game. It's not something that you would control up front. And you're allowing all the people that may not want to initially pay also be a part of it. So I think it's a very opt-in system that works like almost like a market, where people are making informed choices about what they want versus what they don't want to. I think as developers we have the responsibility of making sure that we're not doing certain things to force them down a certain path. And then it allows us to make a more comprehensive experience where it's kind of like life. When you're going from one place to the other, you can optimize the road you take based on time or traffic or distance. And as a driver, if I know which one is most important to me, I can sort of make that choice then. So in the free-to-play world, I think players rule. They have the choice, and I think we're just purveyors of making sure that the content we provide to them is being happily consumed by them.
Okay, and then there is the entire social, gaming scene, the social scene that's sort of playing itself out. What kind of opportunities and challenges does that throw up?
So I think so social interactions have been a part of games for centuries. Most games you play in the household or in the neighborhood with kids, you require social interactions. There's components that you rely on your friends for. I think the challenge of taking some of those mechanics and applying them to the digital medium is the implicit assumption that those people are also playing the same experience in the way you might play as an individual. So we're figuring that out. I think even the platforms themselves that offer such social possibilities are looking at some of this data over time to find out what's the best way to leverage them. I think there's a delicate balance between, again, like you don't want to force a friend of yours to play because then he's probably going to call you up and say, hey, what's up? Like, I don't think I'm happy with this. But at the same time, if it's set up in a way that's meaningful, you might just find that same friend saying, hey, don't call me right now, I'm busy helping you out,
Okay. And for someone who's been in game development for so long, what are your personal choices? What sort of games do you enjoy? What platforms are you most comfortable with?
So I'll give the analogy of, if you're an avid filmmaker, when you look at movies, it's hard for you to separate just completely consuming those movies versus thinking about how those films are edited and what was the kind of shot composition and things like that. So it's the same way, like as developers, we tend to view what kinds of systems did the developer think of if it's another game or another platform. What's working really well in this? What are some of the things that we could take and extrapolate?
So you're more a critique most of the time than an actual consumer or a player.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Anything specific that you've sort of got in mind for the next couple of months? The whole pipeline that would be shaping up now at Disney.
So we have a lot of games going out on most of these platforms that I discussed. I think our plan is to continue to roll those products out over the next few months. We're getting ready for holiday season, which is a big busy time of the year in terms of keeping our players happy and engaged. So I think a lot of our time is going to be spent in making sure that that's in place.
Which reminds me, 2 new consoles would be launched. I think one would just be launched. We're talking about the new PlayStation and of course the Xbox One. You see that bringing more people into the gaming market? I mean, is that something that excites you?
I think a lot of those kinds of. So I was in the console space a few years ago. Speaking to that audience, I think you'll find a lot of people who already invested in that kind of gameplay, trying to upgrade. There might be a certain sort of interesting dynamic where, if you're in a household where you have someone who earlier wasn't a hardcore gamer, maybe they're interested in checking out what's shiny and new, and then as a result they convert. But how that plays out is left to see. I think people are still speculating on when it comes out and what are the sort of interesting titles that will be published on those platforms.
All right, thank you so much for talking to us. Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah.